At the height of his power, Bernie Madoff was more than just a Wall Street legend. He was a symbol of financial success, the man investors trusted with their fortunes, and someone who seemed to beat the market with impossible consistency. But what no one realized was that behind the polished office doors, the expensive suits, and the calm demeanor, Madoff was orchestrating the largest Ponzi scheme in history. A fraud so vast, it left a $65 billion crater in the financial world. This isn't just a story about money, it's about trust, greed, arrogance, and how one man destroyed the lives of thousands, all while smiling calmly behind his desk. This is the rise and fall of Bernie Madoff. Bernard Lawrence Madoff was born on April 29, 1938, in Queens, New York. He grew up in a working-class Jewish family during a time of post-war economic struggle. His father dabbled in finance, but with little success. Their home life was financially unstable. But Bernie wasn't interested in poverty. He graduated from Hofstra University in 1960 with a degree in political science, and with just $5,000 saved from lifeguarding and installing sprinklers, he launched Bernard L. Madoff Investment Securities. At just 22 years old, he was determined to carve out his place on Wall Street. He wasn't flashy, not yet, but he was smart, calculated, and decades ahead of his time. While other firms relied on old-school brokers and phone calls, Madoff invested in computers, becoming one of the early adopters of electronic trading. His firm helped pioneer automated trading systems and even contributed to the creation of NASDAQ, where he would later serve as chairman. To the outside world, he was an innovator, a financial trailblazer. Clients trusted him, regulators praised him. And by the early 1990s, his name was gold. But beneath the surface, Madoff was beginning to build a second empire, a secret one. Madoff quietly started an investment advisory business separate from his legitimate trading operations. This private side of the firm promised stable, double-digit returns, regardless of market conditions. While Wall Street suffered ups and downs, Madoff's clients never seemed to lose, not even during crashes, recessions, or volatility. His returns were smooth, almost too smooth. In reality, Madoff wasn't investing at all. His so-called strategy, which he claimed used a split-strike conversion method, was just smoke and mirrors. He generated fake trade confirmations, bogus statements, and falsified account balances. He was using money from new investors to pay old ones, keeping the illusion alive with perfect timing and polished deception. That's the essence of a Ponzi scheme, robbing Peter to pay Paul at an unimaginable scale. But what set Madoff apart wasn't the technique. It was the trust he built. Madoff didn't live like a reckless fraudster. He wasn't throwing wild parties or flaunting his wealth like a movie villain. He played the part of the respectable Wall Street veteran to perfection. He donated millions to hospitals, universities, and charities. He kept a low profile. His clients included some of the wealthiest and most sophisticated investors in the world, from billionaires and hedge funds to nonprofits and Holocaust survivor foundations. He was so exclusive, it became a privilege just to have your money with him, and that was the genius. The waiting list to invest with Madoff became long. He wasn't begging for investors, they were chasing him. Some were even paying fees to intermediaries just to get in. Behind the scenes, his office floors were eerily quiet. The 17th floor of the Lipstick Building in Midtown Manhattan, where his advisory business operated, was sealed off from the rest of the firm. Only a few trusted employees were allowed in. There were no trades, no investing, no analysis. Just Bernie, a few accomplices, and a web of lies. Not everyone was fooled. In the early 2000s, financial analyst Harry Markopolos repeatedly warned the SEC that Madoff's returns were mathematically impossible. He filed reports, wrote memos, even used algorithms to prove that Madoff was lying. His warning? If it's too good to be true, it probably is, but the regulators ignored him. Why? Because Madoff was Bernie Madoff, a former NASDAQ chairman, a philanthropist, a trusted name. The SEC ran shallow investigations, but never uncovered the truth. They didn't dig deep enough. Madoff's reputation had become his shield, and that shield protected him for years. The beginning of the end came in 2008 during the global financial crisis. Markets were crashing, investors were panicking, and suddenly many Madoff clients began asking for their money back, but there was no money to return. Of the $65 billion his investors thought they had, only about $17 billion was ever actually deposited. The rest was fake gains, completely fabricated. As redemption requests surged past $7 billion, Madoff realized the jig was up. On December 10, 2008, he confessed everything to his sons, Andrew and Mark, who worked at the legitimate side of the firm. His words, "It's all one big lie." They immediately turned him in. The next day, on December 11th, Madoff was arrested by the FBI at his penthouse apartment. He told agents, "There is no innocent explanation." The empire was gone overnight. The damage was incalculable. Celebrities like Kevin Bacon, Kyra Sedgwick, and Steven Spielberg lost millions. Billion-dollar hedge funds and charities were wiped out. Pensioners, retirees, and small family offices went broke. Some victims took their own lives. Others had to return to work in their 70s and 80s. One of the most tragic stories was the Pekauer family, whose personal returns from Madoff's fraud reached nearly $7 billion, most of which had to be returned. As for Madoff, he was charged with 11 federal felonies, including securities fraud, mail fraud, wire fraud, and money laundering. On June 29, 2009, he stood in a courtroom and accepted full responsibility. "I live in a tormented state for all the pain and suffering I've created," he said. The judge sentenced him to 150 years in prison, the maximum sentence allowed. Justice, at last, or so it seemed. Madoff's crimes didn't just destroy his clients, they tore apart his family. His wife, Ruth, claimed she knew nothing of the fraud. She was allowed to keep a small portion of their assets, but she was publicly shamed. Their homes were seized. Their social circle vanished. His son, Mark, hanged himself in 2010 on the second anniversary of his father's arrest. His other son, Andrew, died of lymphoma in 2014. He too insisted he was unaware of the fraud. Both sons had cut ties with Bernie the moment the truth came out. Madoff spent his final years alone in prison, suffering from kidney disease and other health problems. He died on April 14, 2021, at age 82, in a North Carolina federal prison. He left behind a legacy of deception, a trail of broken lives, and a financial industry forever changed. Bernie Madoff didn't use complex technology or blackmail to pull off the biggest Ponzi scheme in history. He used trust. He weaponized his reputation. He didn't look like a scammer. He looked like success. And that's the danger. Financial crime doesn't always wear a mask. Sometimes it wears a $5,000 suit, speaks softly, donates to charity, and shakes your hand like an old friend. In total, over 37,000 victims from 136 countries were affected by the Madoff Scandal. Billions have since been recovered and returned, but many lives will never be the same. So next time someone offers you a deal that seems too perfect to fail, remember this. Even the most trusted man on Wall Street turned out to be the greatest fraud of them all. I am Shadow Finance, and this was the crazy story about Bernie Madoff. Thank you for watching this story. Don't forget to like and subscribe and comment what financial scandal we should cover next. We hope you learned something new, and if you've missed our latest video about the Louvre heist, go check it out right now.